What up, bro? Spider-Avenger Miller. Today I am looking at the Dart Zone Mark 2.1, a mag in-grip pistol with very amazing performance. Let's get into it. Included is the blaster itself, 3 magazines, holster for the magazines, darts, goggles, spare O-rings, instructions, and a little dart magazine. External overview of the blaster starting up at the front. There's no strike barrel. Look, this is a Dart Zone blaster, but included is this little kind of mock-looking suppressor thing. It just serves mostly to add a lot more orange to indicate this is just a toy, but this isn't even a scar muzzle. It doesn't really provide anything unless you want to pull off that James Bond moment. But it serves no purpose, and I'm actually going to keep it off for the rest of this review because I personally don't really mind it. Well, don't like it, actually. Down below, we do have a Picatinny rail, which would be a great place for airsoft weapon light or like a little laser sight, because this blaster is actually accurate enough to warrant an actual laser sight. And up above, we do have a top iron sight, a front iron sight, which corresponds with the rear iron sight, and it's a pretty decent sight picture. You will kind of have to adjust and get used to it, but it's overall, it works really well. Then, of course, below we do have the priming handle to prime. You do that. The prime action itself is actually pretty smooth, and it feels good because in the back there's a rubber texture, which helps kind of to grip on it as you prime back. And then inside we do have a little bit of a gap, which is convenient because it's a very similar system to the Mark II, to where the mags themselves have these little kind of speed lips where the plunger head closes and pushes the dart into the barrel to be ready to fire, which is a very cool system. And then down below, we do have a safety. When it's protruding on this side, it's safe. I cannot pull the trigger, push it in, and I can pull the trigger. And down to the trigger itself, the trigger pull is actually a nice clean break, and this blaster does not have slam fire. And then over on this side only, we have a magazine release. It's a very small magazine release, but I do like how it is flush into the blaster. And because of how big the grip is, you are going to have to kind of break your grip to drop it, but it's not bad at all. And it gravity drops amazingly with a nice little spring assist, because check this out. There's an actual spring that helps to just launch the mag, which I love. And now getting down to the grip. The grip on this blaster is amazing. It is a huge grip, but it's a very comfy grip. And it's cool because it has these kind of rubber sleeve looking things, which don't really aid in performance, but it does help to, if you have mildly sweaty palms, have a nice grip to hold on to. And I really like it. And then in the back, we do have a priming indicator. The priming indicator is a little orange flag that pushes up as soon as the blaster is primed. And then when you fire, it goes away. It's a pretty vague one, but to be honest, you're going to know it's primed because you're mostly going to be putting this out in front of you like a traditional pistol. And that is an external overview of the Mark 2.1. Now going over the accessories. Included are 3 mags. These are a new design. These are not compatible with any Talon-like mags or anything else. It is only included with these magazines, and they're very nice and pretty good in quality. I have heard that a lot of people did have issues with the feed lips, mostly just because, like, when you're reloading, you kind of have to be very thorough with it, if that makes any sense, because the feed lips on the blaster are a little like prone to, like, if you accidentally knock it, you're going to have a little bit of an issue, but it's just a concentration of focus, but you can get very quick at it. I'm just not there yet because I'm still working on it. The mags themselves hold 6 darts. However, you can squeeze in a 7th one. I don't recommend that always, just because too much pressure can wear out the magazine. So weigh that for yourself. But included are 3, and it has a nice little mag carrier, which just hooks onto your belt, and it's very secure on your belt. And this is actually a very clean system. Like, they really retain in there well, and they're not going to go anywhere. The rattling is just the spring tension, so don't judge it. And then we have this really awesome holster that is a drop leg holster. And if you can see on the back, I just want to point this out. Dart Zone obviously thought of this, because if you see all these like cutouts, Dart Zone knew this was going to be a thing, because it's our duty really to kind of adjust a holster to our liking. And because this is a drop leg holster, you can't really do much with it. And I personally do not like drop leg holsters, but we'll get into that in my opinion. But the holster is designed really well. It mimics the Kydex design and it fits like a glove. It sits in there pretty decently well. Mine's have been having a little bit of retention issues, but it's not really going to be that much of a big deal when it's on you. And it is cool that this does come with a holster itself, but it's easy to just take off. You just undo these little screws and you can just pop this thing off. And the cool thing about the holster is you can adjust it to however you like to pull out. But for a drop leg holster, it's usually typical to just keep it straight because you're going to be pulling it off your leg. You're not really pulling it off your hip. But it is nice for those who do like to have a little bit of an angle to draw like that. But for our intents purposes, especially since this is a drop leg holster, you're mostly just going to be keeping it straight and pulling out like that. Yeah, I can't. The holster is really well designed, and I do think that this can be swapped out to the hip holster from the Mark II. At least that's my theory, but I won't know until Dart Zone says, no, you cannot do that. But why? Because I said so. Am I a parent now? But the holster is designed amazingly. And the last accessory that this comes with are these huge goggles. They're decent, but they make you look like a dork. And I have these so tight right now that it's actually squeezing my head. But you can always have that moment where you're just kind of just. I feel like someone should do a thumbnail of that. But they're pretty good shade goggles, and it's really useful, especially if you have glasses. However, I just prefer tactical shades. I don't really care that much about those. But that is enough for the accessories. Now let's show you this in baby firing. Some Dart Zone Ruby darts. Some Adventure Force Timber darts. Some X-Shot darts. Now some Game Face half-on darts. Now just for some fun, and I do not recommend it, Nerf Pro Halfling darts, the first gen. See if this will even leave the barrel. Okay. With another one. One more. Now you see what I predicted was true. As springers, those are terrible. firing the Dart Zone Mark 2.1 is a blast. This is such a fun pistol. It makes you feel like you're John Wick. I put this thing over my chronograph with bamboo darts, the darts that were included. I got an average of about 164 feet per second. With ember darts, I was getting an average of about 135 feet per second, but these, along with X-shot darts, were very inconsistent outside the barrel. I was getting at numbers everywhere, but also, as you saw, they were fluttering everywhere, so I don't recommend you use ember darts out of this. With X-shot darts, I got an average of about 120, but these were even worse outside. Like, so many were just flying out of the barrel. It was weird. With ruby darts, I got an average of about 130 feet per second, which is, these were a little inconsistent, but as you saw, they were flying much straighter out of the barrel. With game face darts, I got an average of about 150 feet per second, but these were kind of inconsistent, more in performance than distance or feet per second, because they were flying more consistently out of the barrel, but their powers were ranging from like 170 to like 150. Like, it was strange. So and then the last one, the Nerf dart, I only got 2 chrono readings. I got 71 and 96. It's the funniest thing I ever saw. These darts are terrible outside of springers, and flywheelers, they're great. But that is all the objective information I can provide in this blaster. None of my personal opinion. Overall, I'm in love with this thing. I've gotten a lot of time to test this at the Dart Zone Blaster Bash, and I want to thank Dart Zone where I won it at Comic-Con. And it was such an honor to use it, and it was an honor to win it at such a discounted price. They gave me 3 discounts. Dart Zone, you guys are awesome. But a great pistol overall. I've had so much fun using it. The last time I used it on my buddy Anders, and it was his. But now I'm so happy to have one, and it's an amazing pistol. I do have a few complaints, and they're not very big complaints. The main complaint is just with the holster. The holster itself, I just don't like drop leg holsters. They're a little uncomfortable on the leg. And the only other complaint is the feed lips of the mag. They only really malfunctioned once, but they're good. It's a decent design, and it works a lot better than I thought. However, that I'm able to forgive that. It's still an amazing pistol. Now to the question to buy or not to buy. If you're looking for a performance-based pistol that uses mags, this is one of the best options you can have. Worker and like so many other places have done pistols like this. But if you're looking for a more affordable one, this is up there, but there's a lot of others that you can pick. However, this one's just a nice one if you're able to forgive the big beaver tail. But now I just kind of wanted to go into a little bit of a debunkle. So I don't have a Dart Zone Mark II, but I've had a lot of testing with that blaster. And I just wanted to go over this little detail. If you're trying to decide which one you want, they're both the exact same blaster. Yes, this performs a little better, but the thing is, they're essentially the same blaster. This one's just a lot bigger and uses mags. The Mark II uses an internal mag. And to me, it really just depends on your playstyle. Are you someone who likes to use your pistol a lot? Because if you are, this is a great option. However, if you're someone who likes to just have a sidearm like on their hip and kind of forget about it, then the Mark II is going to stomp it immediately, because this is pretty big, and when you have the drop leg holster, it's going to... That sounds so wrong now that I think about it. But this is going to be just sliding around and kind of banging into your leg. Now, if you mitigate that and try to make this a hip holster, it would mitigate it. However, I'm not saying that as like a bad thing. It's just, this is more for like those who are the pistol guy, like that guy whose primary is a pistol. This is the pistol for him. However, again, they're both the same blaster, so just kind of pick and choose for yourself. For me, it depends on what war I'm in, because I don't usually use my sidearm a lot, so I'd probably stick with a Mark II, because you guys know me, I'm a Hammershot fanboy, and the holster I have for the Hammershot sits very nice on my hip, and I can usually forget about it. But for a pistol-only war, if I were to use between the Mark II or the Mark 2.1, I'm going with this. These magazines are just so much fun, and you feel like John Wick when you're using them. Just those cool, like, pair whips. Just get ready to fire again. It's amazing. But thank you guys so much for checking out my review. If you want to buy one of these, I would recommend Dart Zone's website or Amazon. Just keep in mind this is a little bit of an expensive package, but they have a sale right now, so I'd recommend if you're in the mood for a pistol and you're especially wanting the Mark 2.1, I take advantage of that soon because their sale I think ends soon. I don't remember when. But much love, blast on, and stay tactical.